almost like an ancient Greek play in some extent, like that kind of ancient vibe.
Is there a chorus?
There's not a chorus.
All right, then I'm sold.
But it's quite gruesome in the end, and it's like the king or whatever, the guy in charge, the lord. I think he might be a king. He kind of fancies his stepdaughter, which is a bit dodgy, and he keeps trying to make her dance, and the mum's like, "This is really creepy. Stop it, man." And then they have some guy's head delivered on a platter and that kind of stuff. So there's some gruesome bits, and he's like, "You can't dance 'cause you're covered in blood," and it's all really dramatic.
She can dance if she wants to.
She can do the safety dance. Oh, he was worried about the safety. She was slipping in the blood. So Vera's fantastic.
All the references.
Oscar Wilde is the most eclectic playwright I've ever seen.
Just in terms of style of play?
Yes. So he doesn't have a lot of plays, but they're all over the place. Like, I just told you, there's some that are in like an ancient Greek kind of style. There's some where he's clearly trying to be Shakespeare. Then there's the ones that are the style we think of him, which is like our importance of being earnest and that kind of style.
Victorian, upper class.
So he's all over the place. Also, I just realized the play I described was not Vera, but Salome.
Oh.
So there's Salome, there's also Vera. So I made a mistake there, but apologies. There's a couple that are fragmentary. There's just like a Florentine tragedy. That's only we've only got 5 pages of it, that kind of thing. But the ones I'm going to talk about are The Duchess of Padua, A Woman of No Importance, and An Ideal Husband.
Duchess of Padua, I've heard of this one.
This one was pretty good. Basically, this chap, he has been... His dad was some kind of important guy, king. Not quite a king, I don't think, but some important guy, but was eventually sold into slavery. So he travels to the city, to Padua, with his friend, and he's kind of like, right, I want to get some kind of revenge. He's told to meet a mysterious stranger, and the stranger says, here's your dad's dagger, and we're going to get revenge. By the way, the person who did it was the Duke. So you're going to enter the Duke's service, and when I tell you to, and not before, you're going to use this dagger to kill the Duke.
Okay.
So he says to his friend, I'm sorry, I love you so much, we're best friends, I will never see you again, please leave, and I'm going to live here in Padua, please go back home. And then he falls in love with the Duchess. The Duke is kind of an ass, and the Duchess is sad. And the Duchess gives bread to the poor people. The Duke's like, I don't know, well, these poor people are always complaining, just go starve somewhere, what's the problem,
Yeah.
And he treats his wife really badly, and she says, why do you treat me so harshly? And he says, well, I've already got you in the palm of my hand, I control you, so being kind would be wasted.
Oh.
Because you can't do anything anyway. And it's like, oh, you're the worst kind of person. Okay. So that's the Duke. So we have no problems with him being killed. So basically, our guy falls in love with the Duchess, and they're sleeping together and everything. That's fine, I guess. Then he's not sure if he can actually do the murder. And he decides that in the end, he can't actually bring himself to do it. And he goes to the Duchess, and he says... He kind of sends her away, because he's about to go and do the murder. So he kind of jilts her, and she's a bit annoyed. And he says, something is between us that we can't be together. She takes that as, oh, it's my husband. I'll just kill my husband. So he goes, doesn't kill the husband, comes back to find that she has killed her husband. And there's a bit of confusion because, of course, it's the wrong dagger that's been used. He gets tried for it. And, of course, they say, no, it wasn't me. The problem is... She thinks that he'll rejoice, and he'll be like, you killed your husband, now we can be together. Problem solved.
Yeah.
He's horrified. He's like, I couldn't bring myself to commit the murder. You have committed a murder, you horrible person. And he jilts her again. And she's like, well, if you're going to betray me, I'm going to betray you back. They all think you've done murder. I'll just tell them you did.
Okay. So this is just... What is that? Electra?
Yeah,
basically?
Something like that. So... But this was a really fun read, and the betrayals and everything. It's fantastic. It kind of reads like a Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Whereas Salome and stuff reads a bit more like an ancient Greek.
The reason I say Electra is because, at the end, when Electra and Orestes kill Mestra, but they were kind of told to by the gods, and then the gods come in and say, you did a bad thing by killing your... Yeah, we don't support that. Like, you had us do it.
Yep, this is a problem. But I really enjoyed this one. The next one is A Woman of No Importance. So the other two are both very much in the same line as like Lady Windermere's Fan and things like that. I'm going to be honest though. When you read something like Lady Windermere's Fan or The Importance of Being Earnest, they're full of quips, right? His books are very funny. They got a lot of funny little lines and a lot of quips, but they've got a good story. These two, it's like, oh, what if there was just quips, but there's not really a good story? And that, for that reason, they're a little bit more of a letdown. They're not as strong as his good plays. It's almost like, yeah, you still need the good story. They just about still get a yeah, but they weren't as good as, Ernest or like the really famous ones.
I'm kind of surprised. You were really talking him up.
It's just that the characters are still cool, the setting is cool, the quips are all there. The story was just weaker than his best plays. These are not his best plays, I guess. So he doesn't have that many, but
to be fair, he doesn't. Yeah,
it's a bit of a shame. But no, I still like them. So, in A Woman of No Importance, they basically have this chap receives a note from this woman, and it turns out that that's not the mother of his son. So he's going to give his son a job. So they're at a party. You're messing around with Alfred.
I'm trying to make you laugh.
So they're at a party.
Alfred's watching a movie.
Oh, Alfred, you're on the job. So they're at a party, and the son doesn't know that this is his father. Oh. So the father knows that it's his son, and he offers him a job as a secretary because that'll boost his career. He's working at a bank at the minute. Now he's going to be like a lord's secretary. And the mother doesn't want it because the father had actually jilted her a long time ago and basically ruined her life. So she's like, you're not taking my son. She's a bit overprotective. She's like, you can't take my son away from me. And it's like, this will actively benefit his career, though. You should actually let him go. But she, fights against that. She doesn't want to. But the funny thing is, when they see the letter from her, the husband initially says, oh, that's just, ignore that letter. It's from A Woman of No Importance.
Okay.
And then it comes circular because at the very end, when the husband visits her and the son says, who was that who visited you? And now she's got the upper hand. She says, oh, don't worry, it was just a man of no importance. And that's kind of cool.
Frankly, my dear.
He almost insults her, like he almost calls her like a slut or something. Like she stops him by slapping him with her glove. But she's like so distraught. She's like, but he was going to say it. He was going to say it. Because I guess in that time that would have been like an unthinkable kind of insult. But it's funny because they're at a party and everyone's very, very... there's this one old posh lady who's like always telling her husband, who I think is like a Sir John or something. She's like, Sir John, come over here and, you're cold over there. And he's like, no, I'm fine. And she's like, I'll be the judge of that. Come over here and put your mufflers on and sit out in the shade or whatever. And he's just like, yes, dear. And off he goes. And then they're talking to this American lady. They clearly don't know anything about America, And they're like, well, we've got great countryside here. Do you have any? And she's like, yes, we've got a lot more than you. It's a much bigger country. And then she's like, oh, sounds very drafty. I prefer mine. Like this. Like, okay. Just kind of constantly trying to snipe at each other. That's the...
Yeah, but you're in like a log cabin over there with... Well, I'm not going to...
Yeah, and that's the kind of... And then they even say, like, oh, there's a banker here. Like, we shouldn't have working people here. And she's like, oh, in America, we respect working people. And they're just like, yeah, I suppose you would. Like, they're just constantly trying to jibe at each other, These are aristocratic types, and they're all bitchy to everyone, basically. That's the setting for actually both of these plays.
You're going to have a lot to bleep out this time, aren't you?
I think I can get away with bitchy. Okay. It's an adjective. The noun, maybe not. So that's kind of what happens. Yes, there's the part where the guy actually wants to marry he likes the American girl, actually. And the mother is fine with it as well. There's no real problem. The issue is just with the father. So then, of course, what happens is the father insults the American girl. It's sort of implied that he insults her physically.
Okay.
And then the son is like, I will kill you. And that's the reveal. The mum's like, don't kill him, he's your dad.
Oh.
And then that's kind of that's the reveal. It's a fun play. It's an interesting play. The last one is An Ideal Husband. And this is a fun one. We have, again, another like aristocratic couple. And in this one, it's very straightforward. The father is being blackmailed. And again, they never consult their wives in these things. They're always very much like, I'll sort it out myself and not give her any... I saw what you said, and no, you cannot say that.
It's an adjective.
They're just like, I will not give my wife any agency, so I'll just kind of take all this mental load myself. And so this woman's blackmailing him, and she's saying, look, I know that you once released a cabinet secret and then used it to profit from it. You knew that, like, something would happen that you could make a lot of money from. You could buy these shares or whatever it was. So I have dirt on you, and what I'm going to do is blackmail you unless you support my project. And he's really against it for, like, political reasons, because he's a politician. But the project is just, like, supporting some, like, building project in Argentina or something. And I'm like, just fine, like, you know.
But it's helping people. You can't do
he thinks it won't work, but yeah. So he changes his mind. The wife's really suspicious, and then he eventually does confide. The wife is horrified because she thinks, well, I thought my husband was so good and so virtuous, and now I find out that he did a bad thing before. And then he just gaslights the hell out of her, and he's like, well, it's your fault, because if you hadn't put me on such a pedestal, I wouldn't have had so far to fall.
I was
like,
stool.
Also that. And it's like, oh yeah, so just forget the fact that you did a bad thing. Somehow it's your poor wife's fault.
Well, yeah, this was written by a man, so...
Then there's his friend who's trying to help, but of course the friend meets with the wife to try to find like a solution to it. But it kind of then looks suspicious, because it's like, well, why is your wife meeting this man? And the blackmailing lady tries to frame that in like a suspicious way to cause problems for the marriage. The resolution comes very, very quickly. The guy's just like, oh yeah, you're blackmailing him, but I think you also stole this jewelry once, this brooch, so therefore I'm blackmailing you. So we're at a catch-22 there, and it's just, it's over.
There you go.
And that's it. It's fine. But then the Lord is like, well, hold on, that woman was bad, and I saw her coming out of your room, so therefore you are sleeping. My friend is actually sleeping with the woman who is blackmailing me. And then he's like, no, that's not accurate. I'm not sleeping with her or with your wife, and everything is fine. So it's kind of just fine. And the play closes with him kind of saying to his wife,
and a better play,
do you really... Well, it ends with him asking his wife, you know, do you really love me or do you just pity me? And she's like, yes, I love you, and we'll have a new beginning together. And it's kind of nice.
Very good. So for the listeners, I've spent a lot of this time trying to make either Dean laugh by having Alfred see stuff on my phone. So if he's ever distracted during this or things seem weird, it's because of that. I also messaged him after he said, like, I think I can say... bitchy, because it's an adjective. So I messaged him saying, can I say something else since it's an adjective? And he said... That
was a real swear, and you cannot say that.
But it's an adjective!
It is not the same.
But it's... Well... Blanktacular.
I'm just looking through quickly. I don't think I have... Oh, there's a couple of funny moments in the plays. So just to give an example, at one point, Lord Goring, one of I think it's the son, he wants to marry this lady, and he says to her, she says, "Oh, this is one of the days that Tommy Trafford proposes to me." He's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Oh, Tommy proposes to me every Tuesday and Thursday." And she's like, "Did you accept him?" So, I make a point never to accept Tommy. That's why he keeps on doing it. But then she teases, like, but if you don't hurry up and propose, then I might just accept him next time. It's like, way to trivialize marriage, but okay.
Yeah. 1800s man.
Yeah. I don't have any specific examples, but I should, like, they're really, really full there's drama, but they're also so full of quips, the kind of stuff you expect from Oscar Wilde, lots of puns and lots of... A lot of it's very sexist, though, and I do have to give that caveat. I don't like the sexist ones.
From the modern lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these two stories were very much like, they're very, especially A Woman of No Importance, like very quip-heavy, light on story. Sometimes it's not enough. If we learn anything from P.G. Wodehouse, is that just making quips isn't enough. You actually have to write a book as well. But they were fun. They were short. They don't outstay their welcome. They're two fun plays. I wouldn't mind seeing them performed. So they got their yeah. And that's that.
Last